Hello everybody, Fat Man the Beard here. So I'm doing the, so I put out a video at the beginning of the week, Ask the Beard Anything. It was kind of a Q&A thing. A lot of people, well, there's about 15 questions there, which is really cool that, you know, people kind of want to take interest in me and what I'm doing, and everybody's been very supportive, and so this video is to answer all you guys' questions to the best of my ability. So I got my laptop here. Maybe we'll jam out to a little music. We got a little Pandora going here. I like Primus, so I got it on Primus right now. I like all things weird. Let's start at the bottom. We'll start at the bottom and go through these questions. Let's see here. This is a good one, actually. Many of you probably know, I think he's changed it. It's Beatdown's Boneyard, but he used to be Comic Book Gangster. He just won the Bruce Campbell Can Go Fuck Himself contest. And his question was, what was your favorite cartoon growing up? And what was your horror movie that really got you into horror? Favorite cartoon? Let's see. Turn this down a little bit. Favorite cartoon when I was growing up? Transformers, really, once that came out, really, that was the big one. It was probably, but then also I would say probably a tie between that and G.I. Joe's. Those were the big ones, and really just because they had toys connected with them. I think for me that was the big draw to those two cartoons. But also was really a fan of. Just trying to think of what I was really into at the time. You know, I liked a lot of like the Hanna-Barbera stuff. You know, Hong Kong Phooey, Captain Caveman. A lot of those like mid-70s, late 70s Hanna-Barbera stuff. You know, I liked your regular I mean, I loved the Smurfs. Yeah, but I'm going to go with, you know, a tie between Transformers and G.I. Joe. I love Saturday morning cartoons, and I was sort of always a big fan of that. And actually, I found there's a company that I don't remember the company, but they took and put a bunch of 80s and 70s cartoons on like 4 or 5 discs, so it's like you could get all of it, kind of looking into trying getting some of that stuff. What was the horror movie that really got you into horror? Well, my parents were very, very conservative. And they didn't watch horror. I mean, they did like some scary movies. I mean, my parents were big fans of Jaws, and they're the ones that introduced me to Jaws and things like that. But they didn't watch horror. And I always loved horror from a young age. I mean, I grew up like my grandparents watched like a lot of like Vincent Price and Alfred Hitchcock stuff. But probably the one that got me. Because, see, like, when the first Nightmare on Elm Street came out, I was too young, and my parents would have never allowed me to watch that. But the one that I ended up seeing when I was around probably 12 was the third Nightmare on Elm Street. And that one, and I didn't really know the backstory of Freddy Krueger at that point. But once I saw, I ended up, I had a friend whose parents didn't care, and they had like HBO and Showtime and all those. We never had that growing up. But I think we were just over his house spending the night, like a sleepover, and it was just on late at night, and we watched the third Nightmare on Elm Street. I was like, whoa. I mean, at the time, I had never seen anything that crazy, and so that really sucked me into that. And then after that, I sought out, like, you know, I try and get friends to like record it on VCRs for me and stuff, and like pass around like, you know, recorded VHS copies, real bad copies of it. And then I finally, you know, watched like the first Nightmare on Elm Street, saw the origin story and all that, and I think that, so really Nightmare on Elm Street's what kind of sucked me into horror. I mean, I'd seen a little bit, like, probably the worst thing I'd seen up until then was like Jaws, just because my parents were so conservative and they didn't really gravitate towards that kind of stuff. So that's really what got me into that. Next one is Jose Player 10 asks, how do you grow a beard? Don't shave. I think that sums that up. Um, yeah, yeah. Don't grow or don't shave, and that's pretty much it. Okay, yeah. Moving on. What inspired you? This one comes from Bossum Neil, and that is what inspired you to collect comics. I actually didn't. I mean, I always read comics as a kid, but I didn't really get into comics until probably around 1992. Unfortunately, but that was the time that comics really went. I mean, collecting comics went downhill because they mass produced comics, and the value of anything from the 90s is not very popular. But I always loved Spider-Man. I loved the cartoon series when I was a kid. Batman, always. My parents, watched the old Batman 66. And so I always loved that kind of stuff. So for me, it was always just, I always gravitated towards superheroes and comics. And so I always had a love for that. Next question comes from Chad Garrett. What is your rarest and most prized pop vinyl in your collection? So me and my girlfriend both collect pop vinyls. She has a few more rare ones than I do. Like, she's got the Chase Spike from Buffy, which is pretty hard to get. I mean, it's going for $50, $60 on eBay. Let's see, what else? Oh, I've got the Sharknado, the San Diego Comic-Con Sharknado. I've got... that's probably my rarest one. We have one that's signed by Sean Astin, a Goonies one. But really, probably my most prized one is my Bloody Face Sharknado. And like I said, my girlfriend's got some real exclusive ones. Like I said, she's got all three of the exclusive Buffy the Vampire ones, which is the Wish vs. Willow, the Chase Vampire Face Spike, and the bloodied up version of Buffy, where she's got like a scar on her head. Let's see, what else? Yeah, so yeah, that's it. We've got like the ones that came out of Loot Crate, like the Groot and all those. But those, she really has some of the more rare ones. I don't. If you could meet and get a signature of anyone in time and space, who would it be? This is also from Boston Neil. Meet and get a signature. I mean, the thing of it is, like, I've already met Stan Lee, and I'm actually gonna go get another comic signed by Stan Lee, and I'm gonna try and get a photo op with him as well. I mean, I've already met some of the really the kind of the ones I've wanted to meet. I mean, I guess if you went back in time, I mean, outside of the geeky realm, I don't know. I can't really think. I mean, maybe Jim Morrison would be kind of cool to get something signed. I don't know. It's just really hard to answer. Like, I don't really have an answer for that one. I mean, I'm gonna meet Stan Lee. I'm gonna get a couple comics signed by him. Robert Englund was one that I've always wanted to meet. Was Robert Englund, and I finally did last year. And got a comic book signed, and it was a really great experience to meet him. I mean, I've always wanted to meet Marilyn Manson. I never really had the opportunity to do that. Maybe Marilyn Manson. I'm going to go with Marilyn Manson. Would be a very cool person to meet and get a signature from, and kind of have an experience where I got to ask some questions. But that really does sum that one up. Next question comes from your geeky neighbor, Joe. He asks, what's the Holy Grail comic that I'm... Basically, sum it up, he's asking what the Holy Grail comic I'd be looking for. His is Hulk 181, that's the one comic he wants to own one day. Mine would be, for me it's Giant Size #1 X-Men. X-Men #1 Giant Size would definitely be my... and that one has gone up so much in price. Over the last 3-4 years, especially, that comic has gone up a lot. Also, Hulk 181. I had the opportunity to buy a graded Hulk 181. It was only a 4.0, but they still wanted like $1,500 for it. So with comic books becoming more popular and Comic Cons and the movies, the prices of some of these key issues has just gone through the roof. But one day, hopefully, I'll get a giant size X-Men #1. They're still very, very expensive. So yeah, let's move on. Dave Reed, ongoing controversy, Star Trek, Picard or Kirk? It's a no-brainer. For me, it's Kirk. We grew up with the classic series. I always loved the classic series. I never got into Star Trek Next Generation. It just wasn't my thing. So it'll always be Kirk for me. What do you... Oh, okay, so this comes from Doc the Metal Freak. Doc the Metal Freak. What do you get annoyed with seeing in horror movies? Not the thing I see in horror movies, but I'm really sick to death of like all these paranormal activity type ones. All these like haunting movies. I feel like there's just been a rash of like hundreds of like these paranormal or exorcism type movies. What I'd really like to see is this return to like the creature features, and people stop pumping out. I feel like horror, the genre of horror movies in general, is just inundated with shit. I mean, so many shitty movies. Sorry guys, my cats are at the door and they're just being horrible. Hold on a second here, everybody. My cats are really a pain in the ass lately. They've really made my life miserable. They're just destroying everything. I can't even have any kind of private space, so I really don't know what to do with my cats anymore. So yeah, back to that. That's really my issue with horror movies is there's so much shit out there. It's just inundated with all these like, and don't get me wrong, I love low budget horror stuff, but it just seems to be so much of it out there that's just complete crap. No thought put into it, nothing. I'd rather there be, 6 or 7 good horror movies a year as opposed to 5 million shitty horror movies. I mean, there have been some really good stuff. I'm really excited to see. I just pre-ordered Wolf Cop on Blu-ray, and it won't be in until May. And so there are some, and this like Wolf Cop's like one of the few movies like I very rarely buy a movie blindly, like that I haven't watched, but just from like I think Johnny Tez talked about it in his last video, and I think your geeky neighbor talked about it. Oh, and Mr. Tony the Dead did a review on it. Everybody said it's such a great movie, and I watched the trailer several times, and it just looks really fun. It has that very like grindhouse feel to it, at least from what I can see in the trailer. And I'm really excited for that movie. And there has been a few other horror movies over the last couple of years where it's like, okay, these people get it, but for the most part, it's just complete and utter crap out there. Like I think I would talk about in some other videos, like The Babadook and a couple of these other ones where there's just a lot of hype, but they're just really not that great. Like I said, Wolf Cop, I really loved Insidious. I loved Insidious 2. I did really like The Conjuring. They're remaking Martyrs, an American version of Martyrs. I'm really excited to see that. But yeah, I mean, overall, I feel like the horror, there's a lot of it out there now. There's way more than there used to be, but just the quality is not very good, even for the B-side stuff. So yeah, anyway, that's moving on. Anthony Rapino asks, what toy collectible comic do you no longer have but so wish you did? It could be anything you lost, sold, or got stolen, or whatever. This actually was something I just got recently, the Darth Vader action figure case. That was something I'd been looking for. I'd had as a child. And many of you know this, I had a giant toy collection. So I moved out of a house into an apartment when I went to college. I owned my own home. So I had to downsize, but what I took with me was my toy collection, and it was taking up one whole room in my apartment. I live in a 2-bedroom apartment. So this room that I'm in now was just stacked with boxes and boxes of toys. And then unfortunately with college I had to sell off a lot of stuff over time. But the big one, I had an Optimus Prime in the box. That one was tough. I would really love to have that back. Stuff from my childhood, and I've been slowly trying to get things back. Big things would be like, even if I've been trying to find loose Star Wars action figures at Comic-Cons and, you know, garage sales and things like that. Anything Star Wars really from my childhood I've really been trying to go after. And those are my main things, is stuff from Star Wars. Right off the top of the head, I can't think of anything too much. Maybe some Transformer type, like classic Transformer stuff. Yeah, that's really it. I mean, and like I just mentioned, comic book wise, I'd love to get a hold of a giant size X-Men #1. But really, I for the most part, I have a lot of the key issues I've been looking for over the years. I've been reacquiring them and stuff like that. So yeah, that's pretty much it there. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for, Star Wars stuff, really. Moving on. Skin Slip asks, what's your favorite third-rate villain in Marvel or DC? I don't know. I couldn't really answer this question because I don't really know, like, what do you mean by third rate? Like, I couldn't come up with, like, my third rate and your third rate could definitely differ. I don't really know how to answer that question too well. So sorry, man. I don't really know if there's anybody that's all that third rate. I don't know. But that's just me. So that's it, guys. That was all the questions. All the questions were awesome, guys. So thank you so much for participating. Don't forget, my 100 subscriber video is still running through the end of this month, and so check that out. I actually definitely will. I'll be doing a Blu-ray review on about 3 Blu-rays. Yeah, there's at least 3, I think. 2 of them, I can't remember what I all ordered. Definitely one of them is Ginger Snaps, the collector's edition. It finally came out on Blu-ray. I did get that. And Trick or Treat on Blu-ray, and a couple other ones I got as well. So I'm going to be doing a Blu-ray video, guys, so look for that video as well. But that's it, guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing.